My name is Jamie Ford, and I began in the AET program just under 2 years ago. Previously, I taught language arts at the secondary education level. I currently run a language acquisition school for elementary age children. I joined the program in order to understand how to transfer my knowledge of adolescent learners to adult learners. During my time in the AET program, I feel that I have increased my knowledge about education and educational techniques in order to encompass adult learners. I came into the program hoping to build on my already existing knowledge about adolescent learners in order to understand the similarities and differences between adolescent and adult learners, especially around facilitation. I leave the program with a much firmer grasp of the complexities surrounding adults, their needs, and their educational expectations. Although there are obvious differences between adolescents and adults, I feel that there are many similarities in facilitation, especially concerning facilitation techniques and learning activities. Those similarities lie predominantly in differentiation and learning needs. My time in the program can be broken into the following themes or categories: foundational knowledge, mainly surrounding research; instructional design; assessments; lesson planning, especially in regards to differentiation and multiculturalism; professional knowledge and networking tools; and finally, looking to the future. Even though I explored a greater range of themes and ideas over the past 2 years, these are the ones that made the greatest difference to me and my ideas on education, particularly adult education. Almost every course I took in the AET program possessed some element of learning and reflecting upon foundational knowledge, such as educational philosophies and theories, educational practices, general background knowledge, etc. The most meaningful parts of foundational knowledge, and the ones I have decided to focus on, surround research, the foundations of research, and research skills. Of all of the aspects we explored in terms of foundational knowledge, research was the most foreign to me, since secondary educators do not complete their own research. Instead, they utilize the research being conducted at colleges and universities. Since I plan to continue on with my higher education studies, educational research will become an even more prominent element of my life. I feel that possessing foundational knowledge around research is important because it is crucial in higher education to be able to conduct and analyze research, whether as a student, instructor, or professor. Research is the means to adapting, changing, and refining education. It assists educators at all levels in understanding what is successful and why, as well as a theory or method's implications. Research informs improvement. Not only does it inform improvement, research also tends to be the data in which policymakers refer in order to make political decisions that hold major implications for educational reform. Through my research experiences, I found that there are a wide spectrum of educational issues that are researched by graduate and postdoctorate students, as well as by instructors and professors. The research I completed personally runs from bridging Western curriculum and non-Western philosophies to the perceptions of mental training among collegiate athletes. Reflecting upon all of my experiences in the program, I feel that instructional design was the most relevant and readily applicable element of the program. Instructional design helped me to understand the instructional differences of adults and adolescent learners. In secondary education, course development is objectives driven, objectives that are created and mandated by the state. Instructors act as designers, but on a much smaller scale. They are given a curriculum outline of goals and main objectives from which instructors create content and learning activities. Instructional design at the secondary level consists mainly of creating learning assessments and content. At the adult education level, on the other hand, course development is much more open. It is at the hands of the designer, who may or may not be the instructor, to identify a gap or problem in which to design a course, conference, workshop, etc. Instructional design for adults consists of analyzing the intended audience, catering to a much wider range of stakeholders, individuals who may at many times have invested personal finance, or at the very least have personal finance at stake, into the instructional design, creating goals and objectives, as well as generating learning assessments, evaluations, and content. When designed for adults, there are a lot more external elements outside of learning activities themselves that must be considered. It was extremely beneficial to go through the process in a controlled environment in order to spend more time absorbing and reflecting on the education or the instructional design process. My time in the AET program has left me with an understanding on the importance of assessments and the ability to create effective assessments. Assessments should vary in delivery, formality, and creativity in order to appeal to all learners. They should also be learner-centered while effectively assessing the completion of each objective or goal within a course. I now believe that facilitators need to utilize assessments in order to continually gauge and understand the knowledge of learners. In my future facilitation sessions, I will be sure to incorporate assessments that allow learners to take control of their own learning and take ownership of their thoughts and ideas. Finally, based on my experience in classes like instructional design, I know that assessment should address all learning domains, including the cognitive domain, consisting of content knowledge and the development of intellectual skills, the affective domain, consisting of feelings, values, appreciation, enthusiasm, motivation, and attitude, and the psychomotor domain, consisting of physical movements, coordination, and the use of the motor skill areas. Throughout my courses, elements of lesson planning have been sprinkled into course content. To me, lesson planning is the most important element to instruction and facilitation. Effective lesson planning allows facilitators to feel prepared and organized. It provides focus and direction in order to ensure that all instructional content is objective-driven. Lesson planning also provides context while setting a discrete, achievable goal that fits into the overall framework of the course. The elements covered encompass anticipatory activities such as icebreakers and team-building games, learning activities, learning transfer activities, assessments, and so on. Personally, differentiation and multiculturalism are aspects of lesson planning covered in the program I find to be particularly important. The first element I believe to be critical to lesson planning is differentiation. Today's classrooms, whether learners are children or adults, possess a spectrum of ability and skill levels. This spectrum is the reason that it's important for curriculum and learning activities to be differentiated in order to engage all learners. Differentiation consists of designing curriculum of varied complexity, different grouping strategies, modified outcomes and product expectations, tailored delivery, and providing tiered projects. The second element covered in the program that I found essential was multiculturalism. Education is becoming more global and multicultural in nature. In order to be inclusive to all learners and avoid alienation, multiculturalism is critical. The impact of culture on learning is natural and unavoidable. It should be recognized through inclusion in learning activities. As I proceed into the future, I will especially be aware of differentiation and multiculturalism when lesson planning in order to ensure that my facilitation and instruction includes all learners, no matter their background, age, demographics, or culture. I go into my future career with the tools and knowledge necessary to effectively incorporate differentiation and multiculturalism. Many of the classes I took in the AET program included elements of expanding my professional knowledge and networking abilities. One element that I have expanded upon is my knowledge of educational psychologists and their research. Previously, I tended to merely skim psychologists and their research because I did not find them to be particularly relevant and immediately applicable. However, I now understand that educational psychologists have helped lay the foundation of educational theories and philosophies, and current psychologists are continuing to build on our knowledge of education and educational practices. John Dewey and Albert Bandura have especially influenced my personal educational philosophy. Dewey was an educational psychologist who advocated for experiential learning. His theories have influenced my desire and continued commitment to think outside of the box in order to make learning accessible and hands-on. Bandura is a more modern educational psychologist famous for his ideas around self-efficacy. Self-efficacy being that a learner's self-view is more influential in determining success than their previous knowledge and education. His research on self-efficacy is powerful and has influenced my determination to build learner confidence rather than destroy it through negativity. Another part of building my professional knowledge is keeping current with professional publications. They are a wonderful resource since they possess information about current educational research as well as additional resources that educators can access. Professional organizations, on the other hand, are great for expanding my professional knowledge while also networking with other facilitators and institutions. One such organization is the American Association for Adult and Continuing Education, which aims to unify educators of adults, foster professional development, and advocate public policy. Now that my time in the AET program is coming to a close, I must look to the future and reflect upon what I plan to do with the knowledge I have gained through the program. In order to continue developing professionally, I plan to maintain involvement in professional organizations. Also, just as I continue to keep up with adolescent literature in order to relate to my adolescent learners, I will keep up reading adult education literature in order to stay relevant. Outside of professional development, I plan to be a lifelong learner. One avenue to do so is through my experiences raising my children. My daughter has helped me to see the world through a different set of eyes. I constantly research new ways to help her explore and research the world around her. As I help her learn, I'm finding myself learning new concepts, new ways of looking at my pre-existing knowledge, and new ways to care for another human being. I know that I will continue to learn with her and my future children as they continue through childhood and eventually adulthood. Looking into the future past the AET program also includes reflecting upon my goals. My short-term goal is that I'm currently hoping to find an international instructing job within a teacher licensure program. Looking farther ahead, my 5-year goal is that after I gain more experience teaching adults, I would like to return to school to pursue a doctorate degree. Currently, I'm leaning towards getting a degree in either adult ESL or English. Finally, my 10-year goal consists of finishing my doctorate degree in order to look for professorial jobs. Thank you for your time and for a great 2 years. In the AET program, I have had many great experiences, collaborated with amazing people, and expanded my professional knowledge. I wish you all the best of luck in the future.